Joining us now to talk more about the war in Israel is Jamil Jaffer. He's the founder and executive director at the National Security Institute. He is a national security expert, having worked at both the Justice Department and the White House. Jamil, thank you for joining us today. President Biden has shown really steadfast support for Israel, including a trip to the country this week. Now, that trip is being touted as symbolic and a show of support, but given that, he did make an address from the Oval Office this week. So what do you think the significance of that visit was then?
Well, obviously, President Biden is trying very hard and actively to demonstrate America's support for Israel, demonstrate that we're going to send capabilities. We already sent 2 carriers to the Mediterranean. We've sent additional Tamir interceptors for the Iron Dome system, as well as 2 of our own Iron Dome systems to the country. We've sent small diameter bombs. So we're clearly there supporting Israel in its fight against the terrorist group Hamas that killed 1,400 Israelis in a single day. You know, you think about that, that's actually more people that were killed a single day than any day previously in the worldwide Jewish community prior to the Holocaust. So just a shocking amount of violence there in that single day.
Yeah. Well, Jamil, outside of denouncing Hamas, some are skeptical of the president's response to the conflict so far. His aid presence as well. Has the support really been kind of spread around evenly, or do you think it is very uneven?
Well, you know, there is some debate about whether the U.S. should be doing more, whether we could be more actively involved in support of our allies. Look, we're doing quite a bit. We did shoot down a number of interceptors flying over from Yemen as well, because we have assets there in the Gulf as well. So, you know, there are opportunities for the U.S. to get involved. The question is, should the U.S. be more actively involved? And my view is, look, our allies stood by us after 9/11. They did everything they could. They fought alongside us all around the world, including in Afghanistan, as we prosecuted the global war on terror for 20 years, keeping America safe. We owe our allies in Israel that same commitment. By the way, we also owe our friends and partners in Ukraine the same commitment after they were invaded unlawfully by Russia. And so we can do both these things, support Israel and Ukraine in these 2 fights against a terroristic nation state in Russia and an actual terrorist group designated by the U.S. since 1997 in Hamas.
Right. But $105 billion aid package, that is a lot to imagine, I guess, for the American people. How well do you think that is going to be received?
Yeah, you know, that $100 billion aid package includes aid for Ukraine, includes aid for Israel, includes border construction money as well. So there's a lot of funds in there. Look, the American people need to understand, or need to be told by the American president, why we're doing these things, why these matter to Americans' bottom line and to our safety and national security. At the end of the day, if we allow Russia to invade Ukraine, it doesn't stop there. If we allow Hamas to attack Israel unchecked, it doesn't stop there. These things have a way of spilling outside those regions, onto our borders, into our country. And we are more safe when America leans forward, defends from the front, not from the back, and actively engages, supports our allies, and makes our enemies afraid. We haven't done that for a long time. It's important we stay out there. And so the American people just need leaders who explain to them why we're doing this. I think the American people are in for American leadership. They just need leaders to explain it to them and support them. And by the way, it isn't just the president, it's Congress as well. Not having a speaker is a huge problem for getting these kind of aid packages through and doing the things America needs to do.
Jamil, that said, though, how does President Biden appeal to leaders in the rest of the region? What does he need to say to them?
Well, look, I think what he needs to say to leaders in the region is you need to denounce terror as well. There's nothing wrong with supporting the Palestinian people and their aspirations. The need for peace in that region is critical. The path to finding a solution is critical, but it doesn't come on the back of a terrorist group that's controlled Gaza for 15, 20 years. And by the way, they haven't had an election in Gaza. Hamas was elected in 2006. They haven't had an election in Gaza because Hamas can't win. They don't have the support of the Palestinian people. So the idea that leaders around the region will be supporting Hamas, it's not what the Palestinian people want. It's not supporting the Palestinian people supporting a 1,400-person a terrorist group that would kill 1,400 civilians.
Right. Well, last question. President Biden, he canceled his trip to Jordan. Palestinian leader Abbas canceled a scheduled meeting with Biden. How significant are those canceled meetings in really helping push peace in the Middle East? The importance of Jordan and Egypt in this conflict, just how pivotal are those countries in helping really de-escalate tensions?
both critical nations. As we all know, Egypt has that border crossing in Rafah where a lot of the supplies are coming through, where if Egypt were to allow refugees could flow out and be protected. Jordan, obviously one of our critical allies in the region, canceling those meetings is disastrous, not just for peace in the region, but for the Gazan people as well. That summit, that discussion was designed to ensure that the folks in Gaza could get the support they needed. That's going to take longer now because those meetings were canceled. By the way, it's worth noting those meetings were canceled on the backs of Hamas claiming that an Israeli attack had happened against a hospital. Turns out those claims were false. The U.S. intelligence community has now determined that, in fact, it was an errant missile from Palestinian Islamic Jihad. And so, I think everyone's looking back and saying maybe we shouldn't be paying attention to what's happening on Twitter and actually listening to the intelligence community and the defense forces and then actually taking action based on that. It's important in a time when, falsehoods are flying all around the internet on both sides that we really try to figure out what the real actual news reporting is.
Yeah, well put. All right, Jamil Jaffer, always appreciate your insight. Thank you so much for joining us.